Welcome, friends. Today's story is one of courage, fear, and an unshakable will to survive. The flight was cruising calmly at 30,000 feet when disaster struck. Both pilots suddenly collapsed, leaving the passengers in shock and terror. The alarms blared, the cockpit lights flashed red, and a dreadful silence spread among the passengers, fear that their lives were about to end. But then, a 16-year-old girl stood up. Her heart was pounding, her hands were trembling, yet her eyes carried a spark of bravery. She whispered to herself, "Dad, you taught me once. I can do this. I have to do this." She stepped into the cockpit. The weight of responsibility fell on her young shoulders, but she didn't break. She put on the heavy green headphones, gripped the controls, and listened to the voice of air traffic control guiding her. The plane shook, passengers prayed, mothers clutched their children, but the girl refused to give in. Through the roaring winds and endless clouds, she fought with fear itself. And then, there it was, the runway lights shining like hope itself. With tears rolling down her cheeks and every ounce of strength in her soul, she brought the Boeing down safely. The wheels touched the ground. The cabin filled with cries of relief and thunderous applause. Strangers embraced, children smiled through their tears, and everyone whispered the same words. "She saved us. She's our angel." That day, a 16-year-old girl proved that courage has no age, and even the smallest hands can hold the power to save the world. So friends, if this story moved your heart, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. This is your channel, Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The plane had landed, but the tension still hung heavy in the air. The passengers were frozen in their seats, their hands trembling, hearts racing. Slowly, one by one, they began to realize they were alive because of her. An elderly man stood up first, tears rolling down his cheeks. He raised his shaky hands and said, "She's the reason we're breathing right now. She's the reason we'll see our families again." His voice cracked, and soon the entire cabin filled with sobs. A mother clutching her child walked toward the girl. Her little boy stretched out his tiny arms and hugged her tightly. Through tears, the mother whispered, "You didn't just save us, you gave me my son's future back. How can I ever thank you?" The girl, still overwhelmed, couldn't find words. Her hands trembled as she removed the heavy headphones from her ears. She looked around at the faces, the mothers, the fathers, the children, all of them alive, all of them safe. Her chest tightened as she realized this wasn't just luck. This was a miracle she had carried through with her own courage. The cabin suddenly erupted into applause. It wasn't just clapping, it was a storm of gratitude, a thunder of voices chanting her name. Some passengers bowed their heads, others placed their hands over their hearts, and a few simply cried, unable to speak. And in that moment, the young girl broke down too, not from fear this time, but from the overwhelming truth that she, just 16 years old, had become the shield between life and death for hundreds of people. As the doors of the plane opened, rescue crews rushed in. But instead of running out, the passengers waited. They wanted the girl to step out first, their hero. Her eyes glistened with tears as she whispered to herself, "Dad, I did it, I really did it." Friends, like, subscribe, comment, share our upcoming channel, Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The cabin was filled with panic. Oxygen masks dangled uselessly as the co-pilot slumped in his seat, unconscious. The pilot's voice over the intercom was weak and barely intelligible. Heart pounding, Emily's hands trembled, but she knew hesitation could cost lives. She climbed over the seats, ignoring the terrified passengers, and reached the cockpit. Every warning light was flashing. The instrument seemed like an alien language. Yet she remembered the emergency drills she had studied obsessively with her dad. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, gripping the yoke. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke into the radio. "Mayday, Mayday! This is Emily Thompson. Pilot and co-pilot are incapacitated. I need instructions. Please guide me." A calm voice crackled back. "Emily, stay with me. I'll talk you through it. First, stabilize the plane. Keep it level, yes, just like that. You're doing fine." Emily's heart ached at the sight of frightened children clutching their parents. She could feel every heartbeat in the cabin syncing with her own. Sweat ran down her temple, but she steadied her breathing. She adjusted the throttle, followed the instructions meticulously, and felt a small surge of control. She was flying a plane at 16. Suddenly, turbulence shook the aircraft violently. The overhead bins rattled and a scream pierced the cabin. Emily's knuckles turned white as she fought to keep the plane steady. She pressed on, remembering her father's words. Fear is normal. Courage is acting despite it. Minutes stretched like hours. Each breath, each decision felt monumental. Then slowly the plane began to level. The screaming faded into stunned silence. Passengers looked at her wide-eyed, a mixture of disbelief and hope. Emily's hands shook, but a small, exhausted smile appeared. She whispered, almost to herself, "We're going to make it." Outside the cockpit, the sun was breaking through the clouds and casting a golden glow over the wings. For the first time, hope soared alongside them. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if Emily's courage gave you chills. Friends, like, subscribe, comment, share, and Aapka Apna channel Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The runway stretched ahead like a lifeline. Emily's hands, now stiff and trembling, gripped the yoke as if it were a lifebuoy. Every instrument beeped relentlessly, reminding her that one wrong move could end everything. Her 16-year-old mind raced, but her heart held a singular focus: bring everyone home safely. The passengers whispered prayers, tears streaming down their faces. Mothers clutched children, strangers held hands, and a few brave souls offered Emily silent nods of encouragement. She could hear the fear, but she also felt the trust in her lungs, the fragile faith they had placed in her. "Keep it steady, just like we practiced," the voice from air traffic control guided. Emily followed, her fingers dancing over switches, pedals, and levers she had only seen in manuals. The runway grew closer. Her stomach churned with fear, yet her determination burned brighter. A jolt of turbulence shook the plane. She bit her lip to keep from screaming, forcing herself to focus, one moment at a time. She remembered the co-pilot's last words during training, videos she had watched obsessively. "Control what you can, let go of what you can't." The plane's wheels kissed the tarmac with a thundering impact. Passengers erupted in a mix of gasps and sobs. Emily kept her eyes on the instruments, slowing the aircraft with precise, steady movements until it rolled to a complete stop. The silence afterward was deafening. Then, like an explosion of relief, cheers, claps, and tears filled the cabin. Her chest heaved as she removed her headset, trembling uncontrollably. A little boy climbed over his mother to reach her, his small hands on her arm. You saved us," he whispered. Emily's tears spilled freely as she nodded, unable to speak. Flight attendants rushed in, enveloping her in hugs. Passengers lined the aisle, some kneeling to touch her hand, some crying openly, overwhelmed by gratitude. Emily, the 16-year-old girl who had never imagined piloting a real flight, now stood as the hero who defied impossible odds. Outside, emergency vehicles rushed, but Emily didn't care. She only looked at the faces around her, faces full of life, faces she had promised to protect. And in that moment she realized something profound. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was rising above it for the sake of others. Her father, who had been on the ground watching the live flight tracker, ran toward her, tears streaming. "I'm so proud of you, Emily," he whispered, enveloping her in a hug she never wanted to end. Emily looked around at the passengers, at the faces she had saved, and whispered to herself, "We did it. We really did it." Like the comment, share, and subscribe if Emily's bravery inspired you. Friends, like, subscribe, comment, share, and Aapka Apna channel Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The airport was buzzing with flashing cameras, reporters, and well-wishers. But Emily felt like she was in a bubble, her mind replaying every second of the flight. She had landed the plane. She had saved every life on board, yet the enormity of it hadn't fully sunk in. Her parents rushed forward, wrapping her in the tightest embrace she had ever known. Her mother's tears soaked Emily's shoulder, while her father's voice trembled as he whispered, "You were amazing. Emily, absolutely amazing." Emily clung to them, her own tears finally breaking free, mingling with relief, pride, and disbelief. People she had never met approached, offering hugs, shaking her hand, even kneeling before her in gratitude. One elderly woman, trembling, said, "You saved my grandchildren." "God bless you, Emily." The words made her choke, but she managed a small, shaking smile. The media cameras captured every moment, broadcasting to millions. 16-year-old Emily Thompson safely lands. Commercial flight after crew. Incapacitated, the announcer said. The words seemed surreal, like she was watching someone else's life. Emily noticed the little boy she had calmed mid-flight in the aisle of the plane. He ran to her and whispered, "I knew you could do it." She knelt to hug him, feeling a warmth and connection she had never experienced before. "We did it together," she whispered back. Later, in a quiet corner of the terminal, Emily sat with her family, finally letting herself breathe. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by a profound exhaustion and an overwhelming pride. She realized that courage wasn't measured by age or size. It was measured by the willingness to rise when the world needed you most. News crews asked her how she felt. Emily simply said, voice trembling, "I was scared, terrified, but I knew I had to do it for everyone on that plane, for everyone who trusted me." Her honesty struck a chord across the world, inspiring millions. That night, as Emily lay in bed, she replayed the faces of the passengers, the fear, the hope, the relief. She smiled through her tears, whispering to herself, "I can't believe I did it." But I did. Outside her window, the stars shone like tiny witnesses to the courage of a 16-year-old girl who took control at 30,000 feet. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if Emily's story inspired you to face your fears, no matter how impossible they seem.